Welcome back to the Pot of Gold podcast. Today on the show, we're going to have Brian McMullen. So he is a creative real estate investor with a lot of experience, and he's been doing a lot of investing in multifamily properties and capital raising for his key partners. He's also a risk manager at heart. Now, why would I say something like that? Well, the thing is that Brian has spent over 27 years running his insurance agency in San Diego, California. And insurance is all about managing risk. So the cool thing is that Brian has moved that mindset over to his capital raising, as well as all of his real estate projects, such as fix and flip, gap funds, as well as all of the other projects that he's been doing over the last few years. Brian, I'm really happy to have you on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
I was just thinking back. I think we met in Yuma, Arizona about 2 years ago. Is that about right?
Yeah, that sounds right. I think I took my family down to the 160 unit apartment complex that we were part owners of. So we did a little road trip, and I hit up one of the meetups while we were down there.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. That's where we met. So very cool. Very cool. So what did you want to know? What do you want to know? Because I'll tell you, I started my real estate stuff while I was an insurance agent, and I just started it simple. So, the simplest way possible, I bought my first house as a turnkey property. I didn't know how to buy out of state. I didn't know how to buy, how to manage. So I thought, well, I'm just going to buy something that's already fixed up, already basically rented for me, and go from there. And so simple was like my theme. So now the company I run is called Simple Life Investing, because it's really about, is make sure that let me just say this. A lot of people don't do what they want to do in life, whether it's real estate or whatever. And it's because they think it's too complicated. They think it's too hard. And so when I say simple life, is really kind of something I have to keep going back to myself. Say, hey, if this is simple, just take one step and just take another step. And next thing you know, you have, I think I'm coming up on 70 doors. And, and I have a lending business. It's not because I was there 3 years or 5 years ago when I first started. I just started one thing at a time. Does that help kind of give you an idea of who I am and where I've been?
Yeah, I like that. It's very interesting because some people have these really drastic changes that they make. And I think there's a lot of utility in having a story where things just kind of evolve naturally over time.
Yeah, I think that we see people out there, and we won't name names because it doesn't matter. Not everybody knows everybody's name, right? But you see people out there, and you go, "Wow, look at that! I want to do that." And I think it's a very romantic thing, but it's not real. Well, it's not realistic for most of us. Some people can just go, "Hey, I like what he's doing, and I'm going to start doing it," and they just suddenly happen to magically make things happen like that. The Irish pot of gold, right? But for me, I'm Irish, okay? For me, it's hard work, and you don't do it without taking your first step. But I always tell people whenever they ask, in the different circles that I think you and I circle in, everybody asks, "What's your superpower?" And I hate that term because it makes me sound like I'm trying to boast I'm Superman, But I have found that I have basically two superpowers, and it's not what most people think you need to have as a superpower. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not an engineer. I don't have that mind. I don't have the looks, as you can see. I have two things. I connect with people in a very real way, and I do it very comfortably. My dad was the same. My dad taught me how to just talk to people at a level that they all can understand, and you can connect with people, and that's what I do very well. And I say that with humility. The next thing is I take action. I think that's the one part that lots of people don't do. They don't have to be all those other things, but they got to take action. And so for me, it was 6 years ago. I thought I have to get out of this insurance business. It's not where I want to be long term. What am I going to do next? And I just said to myself, I want to buy real estate. Well, I lived in San Diego, as you mentioned earlier. It's expensive in California, and their laws are not in your side. And so I didn't want to buy there. And that's what kept me from doing it for many, many years. And I finally just triggered it. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to do something. And I started in action. I found some podcasts about real estate. I found some different connections. I listened to what they're talking about. I said, I heard the word. This is the word. I go back to this all the time because the word that really got me going was cash flow. I lived in San Diego. I never even heard that word or that saying or whatever you want to call it. So when I heard that, I started researching cash flow, and I found it in Memphis. And I bought my first property, as I said earlier, completely fixed up. Someone else bought it here They put money into it and they sold it to me here. And I was okay with that because I wasn't able to buy it here. I wasn't able to fix it here.
Yeah.
That's all I was capable of. And so you don't have to be this, shining light on the hill from day one. Just do something. So I bought one property and I liked it. And I'm like, wait, that was doable. Let me do it again. And I did it a third time. And that's when the second thought popped in my head. Wait, I'm going to run out of money doing this. Maybe I should think of this in a different way. And I thought, well, I have money now. Why don't I buy a property cash? I'll fix it up and I'll refinance it. What do they call it? The BRRRR strategy. And I knew that I got that because I was watching somebody else talk about that. So I think that's pretty damn simple. And so that's what I tell people on when they're buying, or if they want to talk to me about partnering up with me on a piece of real estate, or if they want to lend with me through my lending business. It doesn't have to be hard. I will walk you through what I know and what I've learned, and you'll learn as we go. Don't let the overwhelming feeling of, oh, it's too big for me, stop you. Fair enough?
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to offer people there, Brian. For me, I was in analysis paralysis to even buy a house to live in for a long time because I got it in my head that I didn't want to pay private mortgage insurance for any reason. And for whatever reason, that kept me from taking the plunge. And I wish I would have realized how silly that was back when it happened, because I could have gotten into a much nicer place at a much lower rate. But you live and you learn, right?
And yeah, you got to take that forward. You got to go. You can't beat yourself up about that, right? Mm-hmm. I am 58. I didn't buy my first real estate property rental until I was 52 years old. I beat myself up all the time about all the years that I didn't do what I wanted to do. And again, my excuses are, well, I'm in California, it's too expensive, I can't afford it, the laws are against me, blah, blah, blah. All these reasons why I didn't do it. But really, it just, but you can beat yourself up all day long. So don't hold that against yourself. Just go, hey, that's a lesson I've learned. I can share it with the world, and now let's move forward, And like I said, I think that's what Simple Life Investing is all about. It's like, let me help people around me. That's the other thing. Is don't try to be like me. Sit in my room with my little keyboard and my little mouse and looking at the screen, thinking I have to do all this by myself. And you mentioned earlier you're a partner on a big, humongous complex. That's amazing that you did that, because you're getting experience that you, without putting all the effort out, but you're getting this experience because you're doing it with other people. So I love that. I love that big time.
It's been really interesting to find that that's the kind of the key. Growing up, I always had this assumption that you had to be self-sufficient and do everything on your own. And finding that you can reach out and collaborate with other people and things work out that way has been really cool.
Yeah, it is kind of like I think it's a maturity thing. For me, it definitely was. But you have to mature in the fact that you know that you can't do everything by yourself, and you need help, and you need to. And then the hard part about that is you have to learn to trust people, get to take risks with people, but it takes work to find the right people. And I started with single family. I bought 20. I was up to 28 or 29 doors before I started realizing I needed to partner with someone in a bigger way. And now I'm buying multifamily, 24 door a couple months back. I just did a deal with some partners. Again, both these are partners on a 15 unit, like multi-use building. And so, I'm up to 70 some odd doors within 6 months because I'm learning how to partner. So when I say that, I'm not saying that from this sense of, I'm the master, you should listen to me. I'm saying it from the sense of, I was in my hole for a very long time by myself, and I grew very slowly, and I've more than doubled, my portfolio recently because I'm learning to meet with, sit down with the right people.
I like that. I found the more I network, the more I find my people. And there's a lot of people that I network with that we just kind of go our separate ways, but I find the ones that click, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, it's hard because for me, I have a hard time with networking. Not this. I love talking with people. I can do this all day long, but it doesn't pay the bills, right? So I have a hard time because I want to get down to it. I want to take the action, and I can't take the action unless I'm doing it, right? So networking has been hard for me. I don't do it naturally I don't reach out to people like I should. And maybe because I've had those experiences, like you said, where I talked to 10 people and none of it clicked. or maybe it clicked for me and I thought it would click, but then there was no response, and you get that rejection feeling, you know.
Yeah,
So
I've had that too. It's an interesting thing. I don't know. Not everyone's a fit. It's just that's okay.
it is okay, and quite frankly, like what I've kind of described so far, maybe those are the things you're looking for. You know, maybe what I've been doing and am going to continue to do and grow into isn't what you want. Maybe you don't want to lend money. Maybe you don't want to buy multifamily because that's where I'm at now. Maybe single family is what you want now. Okay, well, still talk to someone who's done that because that's where my experience is. I can still help, but it's hard to ask sometimes. And what you hear on, you know, if someone watches a podcast and all they hear is Brian does this, they think, box, that's it, we're done. That's not what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk and they turn the page. And I think that's a hard thing for me to handle, because like to me, I'll pour into you, and you know, I don't really expect much more than anything than just that. But when I don't hear back from you, I feel okay. Then I didn't hit the button, and that's okay. I didn't hit your buttons. Move on. But I feel like sometimes that's a big mistake. I know I do it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of utility and follow up too. Maybe sometimes that connection is there. You just don't have it from the get-go.
I had a guy call me the other day. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I should have. If I would have known what to talk about him, I would have had it like all pulled up and everything else. We talked 2 years ago. He was looking to do something that I wasn't interested in at the time, and quite frankly, my business hadn't grown to a point where I could. My business hadn't been grown, and I hadn't grown to the point where I could understand it enough. To me, it was a no. And he followed up with me a couple of days ago, and holy crud, it's like what he's doing is a perfect fit for my business now. You know, and that follow up is what's going to create that bond that we're going to have. Now, just because it doesn't fit perfectly the first time doesn't mean it's not going to fit in the future, right? Like I said, my business has grown immensely.
Yeah, keep in touch with the people.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very, very, very hard to keep. You know, I reached out to him, nothing ever happened, so therefore it is done. No, it's not. It's just means it didn't work at that point in time. So yeah, I love that.
I think this is an interesting topic because the things I know about sales is something along the lines of only 2% of people buy from the very first contact. But like after the 5th to the 7th touch, then the percentage of people who buy goes up drastically. But you have to have that many kinds of follow-ups before things like that happen. And I wonder if relationships even follow a pattern that's similar.
As I told you, you know, and you mentioned earlier, I ran an insurance business for 27 years. I grew that business from like 1.5 million, I think it was, a little bit less than that. And again, it doesn't matter what that number means. It's a metric the insurance people use, so I'm not going to go into that. But it was a $1.5 million book of business, and I ended at almost a $9 million book of business. And I say that just to let you know I grew, but how did I grow? It isn't because I was a great salesman or a pushy salesman or all that stuff. What I did well is, and it's funny we're talking about this, I created a follow-up system, and it wasn't a sales follow-up system. It was a service and a you know, for lack of a better, you know, go-giver system. So I'll give you an example. So I sold what we call property and casualty and life product and investment products. So I did life insurance, annuities, mutual funds, property insurance, auto insurance, boat insurance, you know, all those things. Someone would come to me for some reason. I would have an advertisement out and would say, hey, come to me for these things, right? And they would come to our office. I didn't sell that person. They came to me for, and I'm just going to use example, auto. That was probably my most common. So they bought an auto policy, and I made sure that my staff did not push them on anything. It was, what do you want? What do you know? Let me educate you a little bit, but you tell me what you want to buy. And so that was a non-salesy thing. Then I guess my long-term strategy was to sell them on me. So what I would do is every one of my staff knew that every policy we wrote, we were going to, you know, and if I wasn't available for someone was going to call that person 2 weeks later and say, hey, did you know, how was your experience? Did we take care of you? Have any questions? That's it. If there was a sale came out of that, it was purely driven by the customer. And then I would wait a month and a half and say, hey, did you get call or email them or text them, whichever, you know, I'd kind of do the roundabout. Hey, did you get all your documents? Do you have any questions about your documents? I'd wait 3 months or 4 months, and most of those policies would renew in 6 months. Maybe I'd wait 5 months, let's say. hey, your first renewal's coming up here. You might have just gotten your documents. Do you have any questions about that? Anything that I can answer for you, right? That's, literally 4 contacts where I'm not selling, right? Now, my strategy was that I sold all these products, and as long as they somehow eventually knew that I sold all those products and they knew me and they liked me, at some point they trust me enough to go buy the next thing. And they would buy their home insurance or their condo insurance or their boat insurance or their motorcycle insurance. Or, they would mention to me that they have had a baby, and I'd follow up and say, hey, there's 3 reasons why people buy life insurance. It's what I call my 4 M's: marriage, mortgage, munchkins, or retirement money, and people, but that's my style, right? And so to your point, it's the follow-up. It's not being hard pitch. The salespeople are the ones that failed. They were in and gone within a year because they didn't understand relationship building. And that's what I do. Like I said, that's one of my 2 superpowers.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome nugget. So I'm kind of curious. You've kind of given us the experience of how you've done your follow-up. Did you run into any kind of issues with either your insurance business or your real estate that caused you a lot of grief? And what was that problem? How did you overcome it?
I'm going to go back to real estate on this one because I left my insurance business for reasons that I was unhappy, but it wasn't really because of the way I ran my business. It was because of the way insurance companies ran my business, if that makes sense. So I was self-employed all those years. I grew, and then the insurance companies would make a decision and I'd drop. And then I'd work really hard to grow it back and build a relationship, keep that going, and then they would make a decision. So I didn't like that. That was what I didn't like about that. In the real estate business, I've always loved buying and finding a property. Yes, obviously you have your pitfalls of tenants not paying their bills or damaging the house, those kind of things. Those have happened multiple times. But I always go back, wait, in the last 5 years, my mortgage just dropped by $250,000 because they were paid by the tenants. So I'm okay with those things. I think it's my lending business that I struggle with the most. Maybe because I'm putting most of my effort into that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I learned, I was just calculating this the other day, that I've done 90 loans. And I think that's pretty impressive. But then I went back and kind of put them in order and started looking at the successes and the failures in there. And the failures were always the relationship wasn't made. I didn't put together the relationship like I should have. I went for the sale. And so I'm still struggling with a couple of those projects that didn't work out really well back from when I started. Since then, they've all been going smoothly. Conveying that to people and showing them that how I risk manage these projects by building relationships, by doing great underwriting, by doing these things. Now my problem is I have a whole bunch of projects coming my way, but I cannot fund them all. So I have to pick and choose, of course, the people who've been the most loyal. That's who I pick. I always pick the person who's been doing the business with me, but I don't have enough funding. And I'm always struggling. How do I get more people to go, you know what? I didn't know that you could lend money and secured by property, get double-digit returns. And that's not a problem. I can get them to say that. I can't sometimes get them to come and say, let me ask you a question or two. Show me what you do, right? That's the part I'm struggling with. It's getting past the hurdle because no one, I don't know about you, I wasn't raised thinking I can invest in lending. I didn't know I can get double digits.
I didn't have a lot of financial education at all, frankly.
Of course. Well, we're not going to go into the public school system, okay? But yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, we were told you put your money in your bank. Well, guess what? The bank's earning a whole bunch of money on your money, and you're earning nothing, right? But so many times, and I'm talking about every level. I'm talking older people, and I say older than me, and younger people. And there's a lot of misinformation about how you can grow your money while keeping it safe. And so I didn't lend on any real estate until 4 years ago. So I didn't know about this. So that's the struggle I'm still fighting. It's like I learned this. I understand the power of it. How can I get that word out and get people to? And again, they don't have to go, well, Brian said it. Here's money. Let's go invest. It's more of, hey, what Brian's saying makes sense. Maybe I'll talk to Brian about that. Maybe I'll get a little more information. Maybe I'll dig in a little deeper. And I don't know if you feel it with me, but I'm pretty easy to talk to. And I definitely want to educate. And I have systems for that. Yeah, that's if I had to say there's a struggle going on, Again, the insurance world was a whole different animal. It was about a control. This one's more about me figuring out how to bring this topic to light.
And help people feel at ease talking about it. I do find that is kind of part of our culture is that there's a reluctance to talk about money.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been taught that that is taboo, right? And it's funny because you and I are in a lot of communities together. We see each other throughout different events and different things. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who are wanting to do things and they're in these events and they're watching these things, but they're really not taking action, which is probably happening because of just that. It's taboo to talk about my money. Well, if someone like me or someone like you doesn't know where your situation is, how could we help you? It's hard for me to help someone if I don't know what you can do or what you're willing to do or what your risk tolerance is. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is you can be a little more risky when you're younger, but that doesn't mean you can't be risky when you're older either. Because it kind of depends on what your circumstances are. A little different when you have kids than it is when you're single or when you're an empty nester. It's just kind of a different calculation.
You know what? It's a maturity thing because I think when you're younger, you don't understand enough about life. And so any risk to you is risky, even though when you're younger, you should be able to take more risk, right?
Because you lack experience.
You lack experience. I hate to joke about this with my kids because it's a true statement. They're all better looking than me. They're smarter than me. They got bluer eyes than me. My son's taller than me. My daughter's beautiful. All these things that they have, but they don't have one thing, and it's wisdom, and that doesn't come just because you want it or because you're born or because you're smart. It comes because you've experienced something. And so, yeah, I find that younger kids who could and very realistically should be taking more risk have not been trained or taught to. And then older people who are maybe late in the game, they're willing to take a little bit more risk because they know that they missed out when they were young. And that's funny you say that because my big thing with my lending is I don't want it just to be. We've all heard of the word accredited, unaccredited. Non-accredited people. People are accredited, for those of you who don't know, are people who have more facilities. They've got a bit larger income, and I'm not going to go into all the numbers and all that, but they have a larger income where they have assets already. And then there's people who are unaccredited who haven't built those numbers up. They haven't built their income up yet. And a lot of people in the lending business are like, oh, let's go find the accredited people because they have the money. And I think that is probably a wise business move, blah, 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 blah. But I don't look at it that way. To me, it's like, dude, if I can take what I'm learning and teach someone that's younger who hasn't done this, hasn't even heard about this, that's going to be much more beneficial to them long term. And that's my give back. There's a lot of talk about, your Everest and doing this and that. I don't have a massive Everest yet. My Everest is do business safely, do it with people who I know, like, and trust, and who trust me, and help people learn.
I like that. Yeah. Thinking about that, there's also a lot of potential in helping somebody who's just getting started. Because if they get to be super successful and they know that you're the person that helped them, well, then it's kind of a, hey, you helped me get my elevator sent up. I'm going to take care of you too. At least you'd expect that if the people are trustworthy and respectable.
Yeah, maybe I haven't been in the business long enough to see that come to fruition yet. But yeah, I mean, theoretically, a good relationship's built. Who would you want to do business with, right?
Yeah.
They haven't really put much thought into that. But yeah, to me, it's just do business with integrity, and do it as safely as you can, because there's risk to everything. We all know that.
Life is risky.
I do it by building relationships, because again, every time I've had those, I told you 90 deals. There's a handful of those that didn't go well, and every single one of those has. Well, I won't say two, because there's one criteria that is a big one, but it's not every single project. But there's one thing that is, which is I didn't have a relationship built out yet. I didn't know the people how I was doing business with, and I thought, I looked at the deal, the underwriting quote, right? And the underwriting's great. Let's go. And I found that underwriting is second in the importance scale. Relationship is number one by far.
Well, that makes me feel better about turning one of the deals I had an opportunity on down. I had an interaction with the person that was asking for money because I was going to loan, and just the way he treated me throughout the course of that interaction left a bad taste in my mouth. And it's nothing I can really point out specifically with words to articulate. It was just more of a gut feeling. I was kind of this feeling like, if you're going to treat me like this when you're asking for my money, how are you going to treat me if something goes wrong and I'd like to have it back? So it's like, this doesn't seem like it's a safe bet.
Your gut was telling you the right thing. That's all I can say. Yeah. It's not always perfect. Don't get me wrong. I have deals that are a 6-month deal and they come back in 8 months. Okay. I won't cuss, but things happen, right? But if you have the right people that you're dealing with, they're not giving up. They're not stopping. They're not, gonna walk away. I have one of my lenders. I'm sorry. I always make that error. One of my borrowers, what I call my borrowing partners, he had a home that we funded. A week later, I'm not kidding you, this is like crazy. A week later, not a flash flood, a dam upstream from this little creek that went by this house broke. A dam. How often does that happen, right? This house got, a 6 or 7 foot wall of water comes through this little neighborhood and knocks this house 7 or 8 feet off of its foundation. The house is totaled. I mean, he just took a loan out a week before. It's a 6-month loan. What's he going to do? So he's been working, trying to figure out, how am I going to pay this back? He's not thinking, oh, well, through that, I'm out. He's not thinking that he lost the house and everybody else loses. He does not thought that at all, one time. And that's because I'm doing deals with him because I vetted him for that. And he's going to pay this back. It's not due until mid to late November. And I think he's going to have it paid back from other projects we've done together. His profits are going to go in and pay these people back. That's the kind of person you want to do business with. That's the
definitely. I'd say that's like the definition of integrity, right?
Yeah.
Lending is risky, but if you're borrowing money from other people, you should be the person that gets paid back last, because that's holding your integrity when you're borrowing those funds from people. And if you can't for some reason, then you exercise all of your power and your resources to make it happen anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And, I'll just be honest with you. His attitude toward that error and that thing that's going to cost him a ton of money is what's going to make him a lot more money through me. My allegiance to him is going to be that much stronger. The lenders who got their money back are going to hear this story over and over, how they were taken care of out of the sincerity of this man's heart, not the financial pocket. And I'm going to tell that story over and over and over again as I grow my business, because it's going to be this is why I've taken as much time as I have building Simple Life Investing. Because I haven't gone out and said, well, who wants money? I'm not doing that. I'm going, okay, you want some money? Come here, let's talk. Let's find out a little bit about what you're doing. What's the concept of your business? What have you done already? I'm doing that a lot. I mean, deals don't matter, relationships do, and that's been my kind of main mantra. It's at times it's hard because you see other people growing their business like triple the speed. I'm like, dang it, I want to be making that money now, right? And then you have to just
like, everybody looks like they're moving fast.
Well, and that's the other thing. In the communities that we're in, there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of people who look like they're moving fast. And it's I think it's a lot more people like me, or and I'm not going to speak for you because I don't know, but for me, I'm not retiring next week yet, right? I'm working still. But I can see the direction it's going, and it's the same direction that my insurance business went. 27 years from 1 to 9 million, right? Sounds good on paper, but it took 27 years to do that, and that's the way I build things. I don't build things, fast. I build them sturdy.
All right. Well, what do you expect? I think this is a good segue. What do you expect your future in your business with your lending and your real estate to look like?
Excuse me. Sorry.
You're okay.
So I guess this is the part where I would kind of say what I've done, so I can say what I'm going to do. Basically, 3 years, I went from me starting lending my own money, learning the business, making mistakes with my own money mostly, and then starting this business. In 3 years, I've gone from $300,000 lending out of my own pocket to I think I'm at $4.5 million that I'm moving for myself and for others now. I want to make that number grow immensely. and it's already speeding up. I'm seeing, what do they call that? I don't know what they call it.
Compounding, right?
Yeah. So it's already happening. I want to be $10 million investing money so I can do the right projects. I've been doing fix and flip projects. That's my thing is I know how to buy a house, fix a house and refinance it or sell it. That's where my history is. So that's what I've been focusing on. I wouldn't mind extending out into other types of lending, but quite frankly, I know this business. There's no reason for me to change what I'm doing. The only thing I want to change is just grow. I want my 4 million to be 10 million. I want my 5 lender or borrowers that I work with, and I know and I trust. I want that to be 7 or 8, right? Because ultimately you have to take chances with new people and learn things. So I want to grow the numbers there, and I want to grow my ability to do larger projects. So my projects are generally in the Midwest, homes that are less expensive. The rehabs are less expensive. So I range somewhere between call it 80,000 to 200,000. I would like to do larger lending. But I won't do it unless it's safe. So, it's got to be that one step at a time thing. I just want to grow that. I'm currently bringing on an integrator, so who can learn all the things and allow me to do what I'm good at. I think that's the thing I need to grow in first before I do any of that other stuff. I need to stop doing everything. And I do everything because I'm a control freak a little bit, right? But I want it done right. And so I'm going to bring someone on slow, and I'm going to bring them in so that they can learn the right way, and I can trust them so I can move on to what I'm good at. And I should be talking to people. I should be connecting with people. I should be going to meetups and building these things, not underwriting every single deal from the get-go. So those things can be done, not automated, but they can be done so that we can slowly, learn these things together, and so there's confidence in what we're doing. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. My goal is. Oh, by the way, I should say this. This is one other thing I think I'm unique in, but maybe I shouldn't be. Everybody should be doing this. Is I lend not to own. Okay, I don't want to own their property. I want them to pay me back, but I lend to learn and build the relationship. Because if I do that right, and I mentioned earlier today the guy who had the house that shifted off the foundation. I happen to own 20 doors with him. Why is that? Well, because I know him, like him, trust him, believe in him. I'm investing into him, right? And that's where and that's how I'm building my portfolio. I have he's in Ohio. I have someone in Indiana who I know, like, and trust, and I believe in. So now I own doors with that person, with her. And so that's how I'm building my portfolio. I have partnerships with awesome people.
I really like that because I have a mentor and a friend who says that you should measure your progress on people. And I just feel like it really resonates with me. I've mentioned before that I don't want to be successful in solitude. I want to be this lone man in paradise kind of a success, right? I want to be there with other people that I care about, and that we all be successful together.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get down to the whole weird, hey, when we're old and when we're at that point where it's not, I want to be sitting in the room with people who I did it with, right? Yeah, I want to be in the room with people who helped me build it, and I build it for them, and we are successful because we did that. Yeah, I love that. Good strategy.
I think we've had an amazing conversation here today, Brian. I was just wondering, would you have any recommendations to people who are just getting started? We've gone over a few awesome nuggets. Things like making sure you do your follow-up and build relationships and keeping things simple. Is there anything else you'd like to impart?
Well, I think that, we have hit on all the buttons. I'll say that. But I would say the first thing you should know is that there's a bigger world out there. You need to take action. And if your inability to take action is because you're by yourself and you don't know who to ask the question. If I would have just asked questions when I was younger that I didn't, that I know, but if I would have just asked those questions, I would have been so much farther along. And so the only way you do that is with someone. So find someone like you, and someone like me who will get on the phone with you, talk to you, and build that relationship. And again, I would say right now, I don't want to do anything with you unless I've built a relationship with you. So you're going to have to work, right? And most good people aren't going to just say, "Oh, you called me? Let's do business." And if they do that, you should run, right? So yeah, I'd say just don't do this alone. Don't try to do it alone. And I don't care if it's real estate or insurance or construction, whatever you're doing, don't do it alone. Find someone who has the same general goal and has a skill that you do not have, or a skill that you want, and find a way to help that person to help you.
Yeah, be valuable to them.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes because, like I said, if I were to call, I don't know who I'd say, but if I were to call someone way above me, I would feel inferior. I'd feel like I don't have anything to offer. I feel that way an awful lot. I'll just be honest. This whole pretender thing is real for me. But every time someone calls me, I'm very clear about what I need. I tell people very clear, hey, I'm looking for this. If you can help me with this, that would be helpful. And if you did that with me, it's going to make me that much easier for me to help you with what you're working on.
Yeah,
it's not being. I used to think that was being selfish, but it's not. It's like I'm busy. I have lots of things going on, and if I can help you, it's because I'm designating time to help you, right? And if I'm doing that, it means that somehow other things are being taken care of. I think it's the whole airplane. If the oxygen mask drops, you're not supposed to put it on your child first. You have to put it on you first, right? You got to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of all those other people. And I think that's what I'd say is, don't have that. You need to reach someone, talk to someone. You need to connect with someone, and you need to just ask, be blunt. How can I help you? What would be something I could do? And then the person who you're talking to needs to be blunt too. I'm really busy. If someone can help me with A, then I'd have more time, and then we can get on the phone every week and we can talk, and maybe we can meet for coffee, and those things can happen because we're both on the team. So there you go. Team up.
Excellent advice. If people wanted to reach out and talk to you, Brian, where can they connect with you?
Well, my website is what I've been building out, and that has a lot of different videos and things to learn about me and what I'm trying to do. So that's always a good one, which is simplelifeinvesting.com. My Instagram, I believe, is simplelifeinvesting as well. My Facebook, I can never understand Facebook. I'm an old guy, so forgive me if I don't understand. It says Simple Life Investing on the thing, but I think it's Brian McMullen.75, which I don't know if that's just a handle I'm supposed to know, or everybody. But look me up. You'll find me. Simple Life Investing, Brian McMullen. You'll find me. And then, of course, I have a YouTube channel.
Well, here,
the Brian McMullen.
Cool. Well, this is what I'll do for you. I'll go ahead and put all of those links into the YouTube description when we post this interview, so that if people want to connect with you, they can just go find those links, click on them, and connect to you that way.
Well, I just realized I'm on your podcast. I have a podcast too, so we need to get together on mine sooner or later. But my podcast is Keep It Simple with Brian McMullen. So that is, by the way, my podcast is strictly, it's not real estate, although real estate comes up because I'm passionate about it, right? But it's not about that. It's about what you're doing, taking action in life. So I really want, it's designed to be, I don't care if you're a teacher and you're passionate about science, then tell me why that's important to you, and tell me what you're doing in your life to be different. What I'm fighting is what I was for many years, is I was in a rut. I did what was in front of me. I didn't look up. I don't want anybody that I'm in touch with to hit 65 and go, well, I've done nothing but that, and my paycheck's done. I want people to, so I'm trying to push forward anybody who's doing something that's a little different, a little outside the box, and it's special. So whatever that is. So if you think you fit that category, please look me up. Keep It Simple with Brian McMullen.
I like that. Well, you guys heard it here. It's Keep It Simple podcast with Brian McMullen. And I would just want to thank the audience real quick for tuning in and listening to our conversation. I really appreciate everyone who supports the channel, because you guys are the ones that are making this possible. And I'm going to do my best to always provide good guests, as well as important information that's going to help you learn how to run your business better, and maybe just have some insights that you may not have gotten otherwise. So thanks so much for tuning in. This has been the Pot of Gold podcast, and we'll talk to you again next time.